Good morning, good afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. I'm Anita, and I'm excited to be your moderator today. If you lead software delivery in a large organization, you probably know the tension between scale and speed. While every modernization effort, framework, or tool promises acceleration, the flow of idea from production can seem opaque and context can be hard to gather. That challenge is exactly why KAVIA was born. KAVIA is built by and for engineers who have built compilers, developer tools, automation frameworks, all long before AI coding became a headline. And they have lived inside large engineering organizations and know how hard it is to balance innovation with oversight. Enterprises need tools that operate inside their environments securely with governance and accountability built in. KAVIA exists to bring understanding into software development. It captures the relationships between systems, components, and logic, and then helps teams inspect, plan, and build with the confidence of seeing the whole picture. If you're a company building software, KAVIA gives your teams visibility, consistency, and acceleration. If you're a partner helping companies build, KAVIA amplifies your delivery and turns knowledge into reusable intelligence. Now, I'd like to introduce Labeeb Ismail, founder and CEO of KAVIA. Labeeb has spent the past 2 decades building platforms in some of the most complex software environments, from consumer devices to cloud infrastructure. Let's welcome Labeeb. Labeeb?
Thank you, Anita. And thank you to everyone who is joining us here today, especially people who have been with us right from our beta programs. So your feedback and your comments have really helped us build KAVIA to where it is today. And there are a lot of people joining us today for the first time learning about KAVIA, and to them, I want to say welcome to the family. I want to talk a little bit today about the vision that led us to create KAVIA, and I also want to talk about like where we are, what the reality is. So when I was at Comcast, most of the projects that my team worked on took a long time to complete. Some took 12 months to 18 months. In many cases, it would be 6 to 9 months before even the first line of code was written. It took several months of feature definition, architecture definition, and planning before even the feature team were engaged. When the feature teams were finally engaged, they have to spend weeks or months to understand the requirement and come up with like detailed design. And once the coding starts, engineers have to build against a lot of existing code interfaces. I realized that in order to achieve the acceleration end to end and to deliver these projects in time or in a shorter time frame, we need a system where AI is applied not just on the code generation portion, but across all phases of software development. So that is the founding vision of KAVIA, a platform that helps teams move from ideas to deploy software seamlessly in an enterprise setting. We realize that code is the ground truth. There could be thousands of documents, many of them stale or aspirational. But if we let LLMs rely on that, you end up with bogus code. One of the key differentiating technologies that KAVIA has developed is the KAVIA knowledge graph, which is built from the code base. However, code is constantly evolving. There are hundreds of branches for each repositories. How to keep a database up to date. We came up with a mechanism where the knowledge graph itself is kept in the repository itself. It evolves as your code changes and stays within your repository. So your knowledge never leaves your control. This graph powers every part of KAVIA. enabling instant insights into any part of your system or deep analysis about very specific details. So here is a video of this knowledge graph in action. So in this video, we are showing multiple repositories ingested into KAVIA, and a developer is asking questions about KAVIA for creating an architecture document. So KAVIA is able to process all of that and get into a lot of very details about the architecture. And now here the developer is asking questions about like how to further make modifications to this code base so that we can build some new features. In this case, we are actually showing a case where the developer has taken Fast API and took a bug in their database, one of the latest bug in their databases, and gave it to KAVIA and asked KAVIA to come up with a root cause. So this is KAVIA doing all the analysis and coming up with the root cause of that particular defect. So all done within like a fraction of seconds. Now I want to kind of talk about another differentiating feature of KAVIA, which is our approach of full software lifecycle acceleration. You could start with a requirement spec and go directly to code generation and let KAVIA code generation agent do all the work. Or you could ask KAVIA to build the requirements as epics and user stories, build architecture, detailed design, and review these with others and approve those before you start the code generation. This way, you are not letting the LLM go to town with direct code generation, but follow an approved recipe for code generation. With this approach, you can iterate until you feel like you have all your requirements addressed by LLM before you start the code generation. Here is a demo video of this in action. In this demo, we are giving a requirement spec for a project to KAVIA and asking KAVIA to analyze that. In this case, it came up with a very high-level requirement, and then we are specifying what kind of technologies should be used. And here, it is actually going in and creating the full scope of that project, creating user stories and epics and user stories of that project, and go into a full architecture definition, deployment architecture, all of that for that project. And here it is kind of looking at all the containers. And so we have done a full planning for this project. And from there, you can go into detailed design, looking at interaction patterns, class design, all of that. Right? And then from there, you can go into API design of the various components. Once you think that all of this are in place, then you can go into code generation. Here, now the KAVIA code generation is working on it and building each of those components that we saw earlier in the system. And you can, in this case, you can see it build the backend, and you can see the actual API in action. It actually built the front end connected with the backend. And here is like the requirement was for a state government project. That is why it is an open source requirement. We were able to do the whole project within a couple of hours. So this is KAVIA, the full aspect of KAVIA in action here. Another big aspect of KAVIA that KAVIA takes into account is how software is developed in large enterprises. In large enterprises, software development is not an individual sport. So you have several different teams. You have several different teams who have to approve. You have to collaborate with other team members. This is not a case where you are building a personal blog or a travel website, but there are a lot of very specific requirements you have to handle. And you do want to make sure every session is reviewable. And you want the ability for someone to roll back, make changes to a past session. So one of the things that what KAVIA does is like any sessions which is done within KAVIA is tracked, and we maintain a Git branch corresponding to every session. And benefit of this is you can actually start a session on mobile, and from there you can migrate that into your local Visual Studio Code, and from there you can directly go into a web-based development. So you can seamlessly transition from one environment to other, or you can share your session with your colleague and have them continue from where you started. Like, uh, and one thing which I personally am starting to use is I start my Visual Studio, and then if I'm going for a walk, then I can continue my code development on my mobile, and then come back later onto my web or Visual Studio and continue that code development. So here is a video of that in action. So actually, so this is a video of uh, the custom prompts, which is another aspect of customization that we support. In this case, this allows enterprises to specify very specific custom prompts. In this case, it is showing a custom prompt for compliance, and once the code is implemented, the developer is asking KAVIA to analyze the code to see how much of the custom prompt has been implemented. And there are you could have custom prompts for various aspects for document generation. Whenever you do code generation, if you want to do a compliance check, you can do all of that through the implementation of custom prompt. Anna, so could you roll the video corresponding to the session transition? I think you showed the video for the customization earlier. I think we'll move on. Another key feature of KAVIA is we allow managers to have good visibility into how KAVIA has been rolled out. What we have seen after talking to several partners in the space is a lot of the AI adoptions fail not because the functionality is not there. It is the developers or team members are not familiar with the product and all the functionality of the product. So what we want the managers and our FDEs to look at is how KAVIA features are being utilized by the team members. And then we can see which are the most used features and least used features. And then we can roll out additional training for those features which are least used. So one of the key features which enables us to do this is a usage dashboard. And we'll show a demo of that now. So in this case, what you can see is how various teams are using KAVIA, and also how various functionality is used, what are the least used features and most used features in a daily and weekly basis. And this gives very good insight into how KAVIA is used, and this would help you to fine-tune your team's usage, which team is using heavily and which teams is lightly using KAVIA. Or you can look and see like the features which are lightly used, maybe those needs additional training. So all of these are some of the new features we just rolled out with KAVIA. Now, what I want to do is, so we talked about features of KAVIA, but I think you would learn a lot more by talking to customers who are using it. One of our early adopters, Tata Elxsi, has been using KAVIA to drive their AI transformation. So please welcome KP Srikumar, who will share how KAVIA has changed their development process and how it compares with other Gen AI tools. Hi, KP. KP, your video is off. Hi, KP. We'll try to bring KP back in. Back in. Oh, okay. Matt saying that the video for collaboration between Visual Studio and mobile is now uploaded. So, Anna, could you roll that video? In this case, there are a few features of KAVIA which is interesting, which is now you are using a mobile device to start a session. And then you can do a preview of the session as the code is being developed. And from there, you can migrate your work and continue that work from your Visual Studio Code extension. So in the Visual Studio Code extension, you can continue in an agentic format. From there, you can continue that session from your web from your web interface. In this case, we are showing the dark theme implementation, which for a project which started on mobile, and then we continued from Visual Studio Code on your local environment, and then continue that project from web. Okay, I think KP, the technical issues hopefully has been resolved. Could we bring KP back on stage? Okay, hey KP, glad to see you.
Hi.
So you have been at the forefront of AI adoption within Tata Elxsi. What is your experience so far with various Gen AI tools?
Yeah, I think if I summarize, Labeeb, it has been an exciting journey last 2 years. When you look at the initial tools we got, the jumble code we generated, even that excitement to we have got very professional mature code now from code generation tools. So what I see is from a code generation point of view, I think we have very good mature tools. We have deployed it. We have multiple tools deployed based on developer preferences like Copilot, Cursor, and then we also limited deployment of tools like Lovable. So they are all really good, and we have seen that the coding activity is significantly getting automated with these tools. But the challenge in front of us, when we are driving the Gen AI, is getting an overall productivity improvement of 30 to 40%. So coding per se takes something like 15% of developer time, and we get a 8 to 10% improvement in overall productivity. So that's where we started exploring alternates for automation.
So you have been, first of all, thank you for your support. I think you have been an early adopter as KAVIA is being built. You have been testing out, giving us a lot of feedback. In a way, you have been a design partner to us in helping craft some of the features. Right? What has been your experience with KAVIA so far?
Yeah, I think first of all, fantastic support from the team. I think we have been working together as a team. I think we always felt like that. And from KAVIA point of view, as I said, the primary goal for us was to evaluate a tool which will help us to automate the entire life cycle. So we tried of building it internally, but then we saw KAVIA coming on our way, and then we started adopting it. So if you look at, as usual, we started with regular applications which we developed, like OTT applications, which typically integrate with backend, multiple backend components, and we could do that. I think we really excited with the timelines we are seeing in developing those kind of applications compared to what we used to take earlier. So
Uh,
then, yeah. Go ahead.
what kind of projects you have been using KAVIA for so far?
As I said, we use for this application development projects. Then another, we tried out, you talked about the knowledge graph in your session. So we really see that power of knowledge graph when we try to modernize some of the legacy code. See, that's other challenge we see, whether internally in our own solutions or with the customer universe. A lot of legacy code, monolithic, Java, PHP, all kind of things, and we want to modernize it. So we started with one project as a pilot where we ingested a code base and we generated the architecture documents, and then we could refactor it, and then we could generate the code from that. I think that was really amazing. Really. So,
But
and
thank you, KP. As I said, like it has been really amazing working with you, and I could see like the I could see the engagement level go up as our product matured, and now I'm really glad to see you are seeing some solid results with KAVIA. So thank you, KP.
yeah, thanks,
I'm
Labeeb,
glad-
for inviting me, and wish you all success as a team.
Thanks, KP. I do want to quickly mention something that KP touched upon, which is integration. One thing that we have done over the last few months is integrating with our customers' environment. So we have spent a lot of time in integrating with each development teams have their own environment. Whether it is an environment and tools that they use, whether it is Jira, Confluence, Google Drive, or they have, in many cases, built their own MCP servers. So we have been able to connect through MCP through any of the environment that development teams and the product teams use. In addition, we have just rolled out something called the SDK builder. Using the SDK builder, you are able to build custom SDKs like an Android TV or RDK SDK or any devices, very device-specific SDKs, or other SDKs that you would want to build, like or emulation platforms or running platforms that you want to use for your project. Because KAVIA gets the most benefit when we complete the cycle, when you close the loop. Like that is when not just a code generation, but also building of test cases and running those tests against the code and verifying, all done without like leaving the environment. So that is kind of where you get the most benefit. And so because of that, we are building all those tools necessary for you to connect with your environment. I also want to mention about a couple of features which is coming in our roadmap. One is something called KDiff. KDiff is a knowledge diff. So when you have like a release and another release coming up and another release that you have rolling out, which covers several repositories, and each of them is branched for the release. Right? And you are finding some regressions, or you want to create a release note. So we create like a knowledge diff between two versions, and you can use that knowledge diff to inspect all the changes. Not only all the changes, you can use that knowledge diff to root cause any of the regressions, which is introduced in the release. So that is an amazing feature which we are very excited about. So yeah, so our journey and another key feature that we are rolling out is interactive agent mode. So this is a lot of times what developers struggle with working with AI is it kind of goes in circle. Like, so you add like a feature and then you want to make some changes to that feature, and LLM sometimes loses context because of overflow of information, especially when you have to deal with a large code base. And so it forgets why it made some changes earlier, and because of that, it kind of end up kind of going into a circle. So what we support with this interactive agent mode is you can interact with the LLM in the code changes that it is suggesting, and make changes without losing context. So you are able to get to a point where the final code is up to what you want before you leave that step. So you can interactively engage with the system until the code is to the level where you are happy with it, and then you can go and do the build and test and all of that. So these are some of the features which are coming up in the next few weeks. So with that, thank you, everyone. I will transition to Anita, who would talk about a couple of other aspects of KAVIA.
Thank you, Labeeb. Thank you, Labeeb, and thank you, KP. I think with that perspective from KP, from Tata Elxsi, I think that captures exactly why KAVIA was built. To make the development process itself more intelligent, traceable, and collaborative. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about and show you use cases. So you'll see 3 short demos, a real project showing how KAVIA automates the software creation end-to-end while keeping engineers fully in control. Now, these are pre-recorded demos, so I'll try to talk and keep up with the video. Each clip represents a different stage in the enterprise lifecycle. So whether it's building new apps, modernizing existing systems, or orchestrating at scale, so these touch on what you've heard from Labeeb and KP, for example, already. So let's start with the first use case. It's an Android TV app generation. This demo shows KAVIA generating a production-ready Android TV app end-to-end from a simple chat. We start in the chat UI, select the Android TV framework, and trigger code generation with one prompt. Then KAVIA scaffolds the entire project, writes Kotlin code, and automatically kicks off build, test, and packaging through CI. As the pipeline completes, the APK is ready to download, and we install and launch it on an Android TV device, validating that the experience can run just as we designed it. KAVIA even creates and executes unit tests right inside the same workflow, all visible here in real time. So you see, from chat to code to CI, this is how KAVIA accelerates real software creation with complete context. So that gave us a glimpse of KAVIA's ability to generate and validate new applications end-to-end. But enterprises aren't always starting fresh. They're often modernizing what already works. So let's move to the next use case, which is KAVIA doing legacy modernization of an application from PHP to React. Here, KAVIA is accelerating the legacy modernization by converting a PHP application, beginning with a clear migration plan. After ingesting the PHP repository, we ask KAVIA to perform the conversion. It first creates a migration blueprint outlining scope, sequencing, and dependencies, and then scaffolds a React codebase inside a container. KAVIA translates key components, resolves conflicts, and automatically brings the React app to life. On screen, you'll see the original PHP repository compared to the React version, followed by the React app running live to validate functionality. Throughout, you can interact with KAVIA, inspecting mappings, addressing gaps, and refining the migration iteratively. So this is modernization with context, every artifact mapped, every dependency tracked, and every outcome verifiable. So while we've seen KAVIA modernize legacy systems with complete context, let's move a little upstream. Upstream as in where every project begins. So our third use case that I want to show is how we go from RFP to delivery plan to requirements, tests, and architecture. Here, KAVIA can take an entire enterprise RFP and turn it into a delivery blueprint. connecting requirements, architecture, and quality from the get-go. We start by ingesting the RFP document. KAVIA then parses the content, summarizes the key objectives, and expands them into epics, user stories, and tasks that map to the full delivery lifecycle. So those stories directly drive code generation with test plans and test cases created upfront, shifting quality left and aligning engineering from the start. And now you're seeing KAVIA build a high-level architecture flow based on the source documents, capturing design details and proposing APIs for implementation. So every artifact from requirements to tests stays linked, traceable, and review ready. So you've thus traced a path from RFP to working software. So now I'd like to show you how this comes alive in a real enterprise. I'd like to invite to stage Pubudu, who is the architect at Digital T3, to share how his team has been using KAVIA to accelerate delivery and bring structure to complex modernization projects.
Thank you, Anita.
Welcome, Pubudu.
Thank you, Anita. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pubudu, Head of Product at Digital T3. We've been at the forefront of building and scaling technology that helps enterprises move faster, and I'm thrilled to share how we partnered with KAVIA to make that vision a reality. We have been the early design partners of KAVIA building enterprise use cases, and today we are also KAVIA's go-to-market partner for enterprises. Together, we've created a powerful new way to accelerate enterprise software delivery that we called KAVIA Pods, a small AI-empowered development teams that deliver in weeks instead of months. So let's look at the problem that we are solving. In traditional enterprise development, we see familiar patterns. Projects that stretch for months, slowing business impact, larger teams exceeding 8 to 10 people, and manual processes that creates delays, quality issues, and testing complexities. Now contrast that with KAVIA Pods, where we redesigned the model from this ground up. Delivery in weeks and not in months, with ability to create user stories, existing document uploads, knowledge graphs, backlog grooming, architecting, code generation, and Figma incorporation and test automation. I'm sure you've heard all of this in the previous conversation that Anita brought up, as well as Labeeb brought up, and with the experience that KP had at SDLC. We achieved this with small, nimble, high-performance teams, typically 3 to 4 experts, and KAVIA-led delivery ensuring 100% quality, 100% test coverage, and on-time delivery. Each pod includes a product owner, a full-stack engineer, and QA supported by architects and UI/UX specialists as needed, powered by KAVIA. This model blends AI intelligence with human creativity, allowing our teams to move faster, deliver predictably, and maintain enterprise-grade quality. We've already deployed multiple KAVIA pods using the KAVIA platform, and the results have been phenomenal. A great example of this in action is WizAI, a hybrid AI visual analysis platform for animal management we built using KAVIA pods, where we merge rule-based symbolic systems with sub-symbolic machine learning to achieve a system that is both accurate and interpretable. Traditionally, building something like this would have taken about 6 to 9 months, with large team consisting of 8 to 10 developers. Using KAVIA Pods, we delivered the entire platform in just 6 weeks with a 3-member team. The platform featured real-time dashboards, behavior analytics, and intuitive enterprise-ready UI/UX. This wasn't just about speed, it was about precision, collaboration, and automation working seamlessly together. The result: enterprise-grade software delivered at startup speed at 4x time to market with 85% fewer resources using KAVIA. While greenfield success stories like WizAI are exciting, what's even more impactful is how we are using KAVIA to transform existing products, what we call brownfield conversions. We've adopted this model across our own platform, and it's changing how we evolve our internal products. The process runs in agile, high-velocity cycles. For an example, first week we would do rapid assessments and architecture setup. Week 2 to 3, we would do accelerated development and automated testing. By week 4, we are deployed, reviewed, and iterate on the next cycles. The outcomes are consistent: lower cost, faster release cycles, smaller nimble teams, and increased velocity. We are not just offering this model to clients, we are living it ourselves. Every week, our internal KAVIA pods are proving that enterprise software can evolve continuously, efficiently, and intelligently. To wrap up, we are proud to be the early use case design partners for KAVIA's enterprise journey and users of KAVIA and the go-to-market partners of KAVIA. We've not only designed enterprise use cases, we productized it inside our own teams, proving that with KAVIA, enterprise software can move at startup speed without sacrificing quality, accelerating through a unified AI platform. This is the future of enterprise software delivery, powered by KAVIA, driven by innovation, and built and delivered by us. Thank you, and back to you, Anita.
Thank you, Bubadu. That was a great look at how KAVIA is integrating into real-world applications. And for those of you in the audience, if you aren't already partnering with KAVIA, I'd like to use this time to invite you to work with KAVIA, to contact us, and to reach out to us. And what I want to say is that this is a good time to talk about how you pilot KAVIA in your enterprise. Past KAVIA engagements with every one of our existing customers and partners have always begun with a pilot. And a pilot is typically 10 to 20 users. And our pilots are designed to prove measurable outcomes inside the enterprise environment. We often suggest that you start by selecting a few representative projects, and in the first week, align the metrics that matter to you, whether that's delivery speed or test coverage, rework reduction, or architectural consistency. KAVIA helps onboard your engineers, train and certify them through guided sessions led by KAVIA forward deployment engineers. As you've heard earlier, KAVIA integrates directly with your existing Git and CI pipelines without disrupting your flow. And in the first weeks, you see success that might look like either a fully generated or modernized module, or an automated documentation, or an end-to-end workflow, which is completed faster than the current baseline. So each week, you review the progress together with the shared dashboard that Labeeb showed earlier, tracking usage, tracking velocity, covering auto-generated artifacts, and also direct feedback from the engineers. Across the pilots with partners, KAVIA consistently sees 3 times acceleration in code delivery, as KP mentioned, 40% fewer manual review cycles, and then offers full traceability from requirement to test while improving engineer satisfaction. And this happens without displacing existing tools. And engineer satisfaction is important as engineers get to be more creative, actually developing code as opposed to managing systems. And through KAVIA's enterprise knowledge graph, KAVIA orchestrates the workflows. So pilots have offered as the business case for scaling. Every organization has different challenges, and you can start a pilot tailored to your use case by visiting kavia.ai/contact. So please write to us and tell us about your needs, and let us explore how KAVIA can help you. Now that we've told you all this, I'd like to open it up to your questions. Let us know if you would like to dive deeper into the technology, the integrations, or the business impact. Let's together explore what is most relevant to you. So for this, I'd like to invite Labeeb back on stage. Labeeb, founder and CEO of KAVIA AI. Labeeb, I know, is looking forward to taking your questions. So please use the LinkedIn live chat or the chat interface and let us know what you would like to ask. Welcome,
While
Labeeb.
while we are waiting for questions, like what is a launch without a few technical glitches, huh?
Well, as like they say, right? Nothing goes exactly as planned. So maybe while our audience posts their questions, I'll start with a question. Labib, one of the questions I know you must be getting asked is around data security. How does Kavya ensure that customer code and documentation stay isolated and that no proprietary information leaves controlled environments?
Yeah, so this is actually the number one question that we get asked. And this is in everyone's mind as they are putting their very proprietary code base into Kavya. So with Kavya, first of all, like the knowledge that Kavya is creating resides in your code base, and your code base resides in your own repositories. They don't reside in Kavya. We don't copy and keep it in them, but we do engage with those code in code generation session. So those engagements happens, and your projects and any information about your project resides in your own private space. We have a multi-tenant system, and each tenant is firewall and separated into their own private cloud. So that is how we are protecting this. Now, for our larger customers who have like a large number of use space, they some of them have requested that Kavya itself run in their environment. So for our larger customers, we are starting to do that, where Kavya itself runs in their environment, so they don't have to worry about any of their code or knowledge leaving their system at all. Right? The LLMs that we use, we have enterprise licenses with the LLM providers, which would prevent them from using any of our interactions with them for any kind of training. So in none of the data or our LLM interactions, the information from those do not leak to the LLM provider. But now, if one of our customers have their own LLMs that they want to use, we could use those as well, as long as we qualify them to make sure they meet our thresholds. So that is, like the other part is we are in SOC 2 review right now, and we do expect sometime in Q1 that if all goes well, that we should be able to reach our SOC 2 certification. So these are the key things which gives our customers enough confidence to engage with Kavya with their code.
Well, thanks, Labeeb. That's helpful. One of the things I wanted to ask was about LLMs itself, right? I know Kavya uses LLMs in the background. Well, which LLMs are these, and what flexibility do users have with LLMs? Does Kavya use open source LLMs, closed source LLMs? Which LLMs, and do the organizations get to choose what LLMs are used?
So by default, we allow our users to pick the right LLM for the task. And when I say right LLM, there are a set of code generation and associated LLMs that we have qualified. Right now, it is Claude 4.5 and Claude 4, GPT 4.1 and GPT 5, and Gemini 2.5 Pro. So these are the code generation high-end LLMs that we use. We also use some summarization LLM, and then we use LLMs for other purposes for some of the agents to work, because we want to make sure the cost aspect, because since our customers pay for the LLM cost, we want to make sure we keep the cost as minimal as possible for them. So there are cases where customers have some LLMs that they like some open source LLMs, and we, as long as we qualify them, it takes us 3 days to a week to qualify a new LLM. So as long as we qualify them, then we should be able to use their LLMs as well.
No, that's good. That's good. And that might, become increasingly important as you have sovereign LLMs and other applications that go into more governed and regulatory spaces. I'll move to the next question. Derek asks, many enterprises already have various tools for their software development lifecycle, whether it's CI/CD, DevOps, and governance frameworks. So how does KAVIA integrate with those environments without requiring teams to change?
Yeah, our expectation is most of those mechanisms and the tools that they have would still remain in place. And but however, we do want to engage with some of those as a part of our code generation cycle. Like, for example, if you have a custom test framework that you want to engage while code generation is in progress, you have a way to provide those custom scripts inside our manifest. And by doing so, you are able to connect with your existing tools systems through KAVIA. Another item that I mentioned earlier is the SDK builder. So if you have what we have seen is many of the embedded device or software developers, they have to test it on emulators or on actual devices. So as you are generating code, it's not just about code generation. We want to make sure the code is compilable, it's buildable, and it actually runs, and then you can run tests against it. So all of that is done using the KAVIA code generation cycle. So we do connect with all of those systems by building this SDK or uploading this SDK and using those SDKs in these code generation loops.
Thank you for sharing that, Labeeb. And maybe a question that I see here coming from people who are partners and system integrators. What does collaboration with KAVIA look like? And what other features do you have in your roadmap? Are you open to working on new features with partners?
Absolutely. I think we are a very young company. We are heavily influenced by our customers' requirement. So many of the features that we are built and defined is our features that our design partners and our early adopters are telling us, and which are important for them. So we really prioritize some of our features based on what we hear from our customers. So we would love to hear about some feature requests that you have, and we would love to prioritize those in our roadmap.
Thanks, Labeeb. There's actually more questions coming, but I know that we are at time. So I think I need to wrap it up. So what I'll say, Labeeb, is thank you. And thank you, Team KAVIA. And everyone who's been posting questions, please keep it coming. Even if we're wrapping up, please continue asking us questions. If due to time we did not get to your questions live, we'll be sure to follow up with you post the event, especially if you've contacted us. I'll ask Labeeb to write to you directly. We plan on sharing today's recording with all the people who registered here today. And if you'd like to see how KAVIA can work for you on your systems, please reach out to us anytime at KAVIA.ai/contact. So we're going to have to wrap up in the interest of time, Labeeb, but I want to thank you and thank everyone in the audience and everyone at Team KAVIA for getting us here, all our partners, our customers, our users, our engineers, everyone who's part of the team.
And thank you, Anita, for moderating the session and organizing this so well. Thank you.
Thank you.